Hello, everyone. It is I, your favorite bard, coming at you live, real wild, here to light it up and set the world on fire, and also get copyright stricken by Riot Games. Welcome, Gamma. Welcome, CCG, in the chat. We are back today after our last tournament, which was last Sunday, which is always a fun time. Didn't know if we were going to make it today because I kind of had a voice acting audition, but at the last minute, they just kind of canceled. So it was kind of like, you know what? We're going to get on live and we're going to do my favorite thing to do, which is sing everybody's praises for, being awesome. What do you think, Dare?
I think that eventually the copyright will catch up with us and Riot Gaming will be down our throats.
I think you are 100% correct about that. I keep doing it, however, because, I think that song is a banger, and I absolutely love it. But
It is a banger.
it is
I
a
will give
banger.
you that.
It's funny because, that's actually kind of the whole KDA thing is what got me into K-pop. At first, I was like, I don't understand, like everybody's obsession. But then, like, they dropped Pop Stars, and I was just like, oh, this song is a freaking banger. I love it. I was like,
It all makes sense to me
it
now.
all makes sense to me now. It was really good. Plus, it doesn't hurt that like the skin reworks were just so fire too, because it's kind of like you know, uh, MOBA games are just like notorious for having a bunch of what's it called, different cosmetic upgrades for your characters. So like
Yeah,
this the skin game is kind of like a huge thing. Um, and just Riot Games just I think does it better than anyone else. It is my opinion that their art direction is just top notch 100%, and they make some of the best character skins in the industry. It is, I don't know, like I would fight anyone on that one. I was like, show me a game that does it better, and like I might be persuaded to change my mind, but up until now I haven't seen one do it better.
yeah, they're pretty good when it comes to doing cosmetic stuff. Some of their stuff is a little too out there for me though. Like,
They have a tendency to
uh,
be a little fan servicey, but hey, they know what sells.
it's Star Guardian Urgot. It's
Yeah, Star Guardian
it's a
Urgot.
favorite.
What was it? It's not. It's not. Is it Urgot too? No, it isn't. There's one that was supposed to be like a slumber party one.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, the pajama party,
Pajama
Star
party.
Guardians.
Yeah. But what was that like the one that we were trying to do? Like, was the pajama party Urgoth?
Yeah, that's the one that they gave us.
Uh,
It's because everybody was like, "We need Star Guardian Urgot."
it is hilarious, and I love it. But Brother Gamma saying that he doesn't believe it one bit. Uh, he says the bet, but it'll take him a bit to find it. Oh, okay. So he's taking me up on like show me a game that does skins better than Riot does. Um, I I think like Blizzard sometimes does it all right, but it's kind of like a hit or miss with them because like for every one that they do that's great, they do a couple that are just okay, you know.
Well,
Um,
see, in my opinion,
mhm.
Dota 2 does their skins pretty well because you can like it each skin is a set, so you can like mix and match your different pieces to form a different set.
Right.
So like where Riot's is all one thing, like
Yeah.
on Dota, you have a helmet slot, you have a chest slot, a leg slot. You can like mix different sets together. And
Right. And I think most
what I'm
games are
saying
like that
is
though.
Dota does it better.
What you're saying, Dota does it better. I think that most games kind of do it like that. What do you call it? I'm blanking right now. I think most sets kind of do it like that. Can't think. Most game companies do it that way because it's easier to program one skin than it is to program like multiple parts in a skin.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like one of those really weird. We do this because it's the easier thing to do, and you would think that what's it called? I don't know. You would think that with the amount of money that they make, that they could like kind of diversify a little bit, because I do kind of think that the mixing and matching is kind of a cool thing that Dota does.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like it feels so weird that like they no other company does it.
It's because all the other companies are bad. So simple. Simple.
Uh,
Now all the other companies are coming after us too.
yeah, like we've called them out, so now they have to respond. But here's what we came to do today. Today we came here to talk about the tournament and basically kind of like hit on some highlights. And in order to do this, I actually went back and I rewatched it, and what do you call it? I kind of put a lot of effort into like my data collection. So I have notes. Like I was taking notes just to be like, okay, well this is something that happened that was kind of interesting to see. This is something that happened that is kind of a little bit unbelievable. So basically, I broke this down by brackets. So we had the first bracket, which is Mordor versus Dare, Cat versus Helix, and Gamma versus Blark. Gamma says, Senran Kagura. Boom. I don't know about Senran Kagura. I haven't seen it. All right. Let's see. Music too loud, says HR. HR, how is the music now? Does it fall a little bit more on the reasonable side? Let me lower it a little more. Waiting for you guys' confirmation. Hey, no problem. Everybody literally at the same time. Hey, the music is loud. That's my bad. I've lowered it a couple of levels. What do you guys think? Is it better now? Thank you for letting me know. Like the worst thing would have been like we do the entire episode and it's just like
It's just the Wii music super loud.
It's the Wii music.
And no one can even hear us.
No. Let's see. Testing. Where is... All right, that's better. And my microphone is all the way at the bottom. I was like, oh my gosh, did I replace the music with my microphone? Is that what's happening?
I just realized we didn't do like a sound check before. You just kind of called and we were like, let's go.
I was doing the sound check as we went. It's just like in this particular case, I noticed that over the past couple of episodes, I haven't played the music in the background. So
So you was just bumping it.
Yeah, so like this time I turned it on and I didn't realize that the levels were just like all the way max. So yeah, it is what it is. I sometimes make little bard oopsies. But basically what I was saying is that we're here to sing the praises of everybody that competed in the last tournament. And in order to do that, what I did is I went through and I watched the whole thing and I took notes basically to just kind of like bring out some highlights and and to just kind of like, for one thing, I know that a lot of our watchers aren't Yu-Gi-Oh players, so there's a lot of things that I know go over their heads, and I'm like, these things are incredible. And today I just kind of wanted to just kind of like highlight some of them and be like, this is why this was incredible. This was why this was amazing. Just kind of like to say thank you to our duelists for participating. Thank you to our watchers for watching, and also just because I'm a huge Yu-Gi-Oh geek and I love these things. Like I am like so hype, and I'm like I want to share my hype with you guys. So let's see what we got. Oh, I took notes, Brother Gamma. I did. I took so many notes. Like you would not believe the amount of notes. So let's see here. For starters, we divided this into the three brackets. Like I said, the three brackets, which was first bracket was Mordor versus Dare, Cat versus Helix, and Gamma versus Blark. Second bracket was Gamma versus Helix and Sky versus Mordor. And lastly, the semifinals, which was Sky versus Helix, and the finals, which were Helix versus myself. Raven says, "This is to sing the praises of everyone, so I took notes." As if it wasn't him prepping for the next one. The best way to prepare for your next tournament is to take excessive notes on your opponents, highlight their weaknesses, and execute them when they are not expecting it.
Execute your opponents when they're not expecting it. Got it.
Yeah, execute them when they're not expecting. I was gonna say execute like plays that they're not expecting, but somehow it came out as that. So now it sounds like I'm advocating for you to like find them and take them out before they can sign up.
Where at in Texas do you live again?
It's surprising. It's a place called Cut and Shoot. It is
Okay. Cut and Shoot.
Cut and Shoot.
Is there an address that I could find you at there, buddy?
Oh, it is somewhere in Cut and Shoot. I'm sure that if you ask for the Oni guy, they'll know who you're talking about. So for starters, Dare, I'm about to traumatize you with this one. I'm going to put it up on screen. This right here is Mordor's end board, which is in the neighborhood of 6,000 attack that can attack twice, and a Union Carrier on a monster that is basically immune to everything. You have one way to deal with this thing, and that's by game mechanics. You can't target it with effects. You can't destroy it with effects. Which is what makes it so dangerous, because a lot of the ways that in Yu-Gi-Oh you out big boss monsters is by removing them by either A, banishing, by B, destroying, but this thing is immune to everything that can do that. And
yeah, it is.
And on top of that, it's got 6,000 attack, which every player has 8,000 attack, 8,000 life points to start, and it can attack twice, meaning that in an open board, this thing can deal game by itself.
Yeah.
So it is the beautiful thing about this, and I wanted to kind of highlight this, is that Mordor is a very casual Yu-Gi-Oh player. So to execute this kind of combo that ends on something this big was actually really fun to see. I always say that Yu-Gi-Oh is like the early iPhone apps, the early iPhone, that there's an app for everyone. There's an app for everything. I think that Yu-Gi-Oh does have a deck for everyone, 100%. And it's whenever you find a deck that just clicks with you, you can get up to some really crazy stuff, which is exactly what Mordor did here. He found a deck that clicked with him. He found that Cyber Darks are a playstyle that he likes, that he can understand, and that he can execute rather easily. And he decided to go for it, even going so far as to learn Link Summoning, which, by the way, this is a guy who is a Yu-Gi boomer at his finest, so he thinks that tribute summoning is the way that things should be, and this thing, ironically, is summoned out by a tribute, so...
Yeah. The thing about this board that made it difficult to actually deal with was the fact that Union Carrier's not banned in Master Duel. So, for a little while, the Buster Dragon Whelp, I think is what it's called, or Buster Dragon Sword.
Buster Destruction Sword, yeah.
Yeah, that was banned because of Union Carrier. Because Union Carrier can just equip it to any card. In its own archetype, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But when you can just put it in any deck, make Union Carrier, and then equip it to any monster, that makes it really bad because it locks you out of your extra deck. The deck I was playing requires the extra deck to play. Yeah. So when he is able to consistently put that on the field, it makes it very hard to do anything.
Yep.
Which, not that I could get over the 6,000 attack.
Yeah, a
I
lot
didn't
of
go into Nibiru, so I didn't have a way to like get rid of it by kaijuing it or anything.
right.
So
Uh, uh,
I was up against a wall from the beginning with that.
it is something to be said that a lot of like boss monsters will cap out at around 3,000 attack.
Yeah.
So this thing with 6,000 is kind of difficult to get over. So, like I said, it's really exciting to see somebody who previously was, like very old school. I'm old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Like execute a combo like this, because I'm like, you're getting it. Like you're hearing the heart of the cards, and it is speaking to you. Me being a huge nerd for saying that, but I was really excited to see this work for him. That being said, as I was watching, I noticed that there was a point where you could have stopped him in y'all's game 3, and you didn't. And I wonder if this was because you were curious to see if you could, get over it by using the effect, or if you just you were hoping to just kind of like deplete his resources more. So, and Raven says, "Play Raigeki." You in that third game, in game 2,
I did.
he did that was his opening move. Is he played Raigeki, and Raigeki got rid of the Union carrier, but this thing stayed on the field.
I had a hope and a dream, but
Yeah, but in game 3, however, you had Nibiru in your hand, and you could have stopped it whenever he got to the Cyber Dark, to the one that comes before this one. This is Cyber Dark and Dragon, so I think the other one's just like Cyber Dark Dragon or something. But if you had stopped them there, if you had activated your Nibiru whenever he had that, it would have worked, because it would have tributed everything on the field. But it would have been your tribute, not Mordor's, so he wouldn't have been able to summon this thing off of that. So I was kind of wondering, were you just waiting for the Cyber Dark End Dragon to hit the board to just kind of deplete his resources more, or were you curious to know if Nibiru would work on this thing, or what happened there?
did I have stuff on the field, or was this him going first?
You had stuff on the field.
Okay, I think what happened then was I've Nibiru'd myself before, and I can't get over the token that well. I have a singular card in my deck that would allow me to get over the token, and that card was not in my hand, and I had no way to search it, so I was just like, I'm gonna hope that I can just do something, and then I was unable to do that something. It was a misplay by me. I should. The main thing, I could have won if I would have went into High King Wave Caesar in any of my games.
Yeah.
Because that prevents the summon of a monster.
You did go into High King Wave Caesar in your first game, and that was the board that you passed on, and Mordor just couldn't do anything. I think that he braked in his first game, I think he said.
Yeah.
So, you ended on a pretty solid board, which brings us to our stats. Dare, on your best turn, you did 10 actions before ending on a solid board. And Mordor, on his best turn, did 15 actions before ending on this thing. So it's just kind of really interesting to see, because again, like Mordor is one of those guys who is like, set a monster, set a spell or trap, the classic T set and pass.
Yeah.
And so, like going from that, like from setting 2 cards and passing to a very complex chain of things, and ending on this fusion monster that's pretty much invulnerable to everything, was really exciting to see. So I would say that probably he has the biggest glow up out of everybody in the tournament.
Yeah, I'll agree that he did really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
especially since you said he's more of an old school Yu-Gi-Oh player that doesn't do the combos and doesn't do the whole link summoning.
Yeah. No, he does not. But just for comparison, this right here was your end board. You had your High Wave King Caesar, your Gilgamesh. You had you had pendulum scales of 0 and 5, 2 set cards, and a 2700 attacker that I don't know who that is.
Well, when it comes up, I will tell you. Oh yeah, I don't know his name either. He is basically a free special summon from the graveyard by destroying 2 dark contracts that I have on the field.
What's it called? I just want to say that you have some fans in the chat. Raven says that you were running on maybe 20 minutes of sleep and you were firing on 1 cylinder. So he feels like you won that one, and we need a recount.
Yeah, stop the count.
Stop the count. You're like, if you had a full night's of sleep, you would have gone for like maybe 25 actions per turn.
I would say that's an accurate number. The deck I was playing can do an awful lot.
Welcome, Helix. We're about to get to you. You're next on our list. This is something that I did want to say, is that I've gone up against this deck of yours before, and at the time I was learning a new deck, but you know, I know how to play the game. So like for me, like, okay, you know, I know when a turn is yeah, I can get over that, and I know when a turn is like, that is too overwhelming, I can't get over that, you know, just kind of at a glance. And whenever I dueled against you using this deck, as I was watching you play it, I kept thinking to myself, there is gonna be nothing that I can do to break this board. Just at a glance, I know that there's 0 that I can do to get over this board. So this is a really scary deck, and I agree with Raven that maybe if you had more sleep, you probably would have played it a little more aggressively. But you know, like there is a lot. There was a lot going on that day, and this was the longest tournament we had. So like at the end, I felt like everybody was just kind of like, we're exhausted, and I'm like, duel for me, duel for my entertainment.
Yeah, like I said, I may have dozed off a little bit there at the end.
Yeah, you did. I was funny because I was asking for like a rulings question. I was like, hey, Dare, weigh in on this. And like, you were just gone, man. I was like, wow. So, I mean,
I wake up because I hear like the sound of people leaving the Discord call. And I was like, what's going on? Where am I?
Oh, it was beautiful. So moving on to Cat versus Helix, there was really like not a lot of what's it called, captures that I could make for this one, because Cat and Helix had a very weird game, because Helix's moves were often very reactive, because he was playing 2 really hard archetypes to play around, which is Prank Kids and Eldritch, both of which can react to your opponent doing things and to basically remove themselves from danger. Cat, on the other hand, was running a very aggressive Dragon Maid Blue Eyes deck, which Dragon Maids kind of have a tendency to kind of play around your opponent also. But
yep.
Generally, Helix's opening turn looked a little something like, get 3 Prank Kids into your graveyard, and then make a Verte Anaconda, then send your Thunder Dragon Fusion, and return the 3 Prank Kids into the deck to make your Battle Butler set to pass. Every duel that he played, and if he got to go first, that was his opening move. You can, if you go back and watch it, you can count it. You can predict it based on based on the move that he starts with. Okay, so he starts with Fancies. He's gonna go into Dropsies. He goes into Dropsies. He's gonna go into Flamesies.
Prank Kids Fancies.
Yeah.
Prank Kids Dropsies.
Yeah. Those guys. So fan season
You,
2.
you gotta say the full name, right?
Oh, right. We got to say the full name because Mordor hates that. Uh, Hair-raising narrative says, I like when we can hear Dare snoring. It is the most beautiful type of ASMR. I gotta say, you gotta start a channel where you just sleep and leave the microphone recording.
That's why I use push to talk.
Oh man. But yeah, this was Helix's bread and butter combo. You know, it's like go 3 prank kids deep, Verte Anaconda, and then fusion summon your battle butler. Now that ends you with a prank kids Meow Meow in the graveyard, and that ends you with a prank kids battle butler that is a Raigeki. He's a Raigeki on legs. He's a Raigeki with 3,000 attack. And the reason why prank kids are so frustrating to deal with is that the very first move you make in a prank kids deck is link summon a Meow Meow, and then link summon something else, sending your Meow Meow into the graveyard, because now that Meow Meow acts as a substitution for the cost of any prank kids monster. So your Helix's Battle Butler is a Raigeki that's supposed to tribute himself in order to activate his effect. So he would remove himself in order to use Raigeki on all of your opponent's monsters. However, with Meow Meow in the graveyard, Helix's Battle Butler can Raigeki your opponent twice. Because he doesn't remove himself.
Yeah, it's perfectly fair.
Yeah,
that's why they had to completely neuter the deck in the TCG by getting rid of the small little cat.
Right. And I feel like a lot of the problem with, I say problem because I had to deal with it. Helix's deck is that prank kids, for one, are really hard to stop once they get moving, because they will chain block like nothing else. And there's a lot of activation, so you kind of have to decide what's the most important thing to interact with. And a lot of the times you won't get an option to interact with the thing that you're trying to interact with because they'll block each other by chaining. So that's kind of frustrating to deal with. But Helix took it a step further by playing Eldritch in his build also, and Eldritch just notorious for just being incredibly difficult to deal with. His traps do so much work because they will activate to become monsters, and once they're removed from the field, they float into different things. So it's almost like he could almost play with no hand, because everything in his graveyard can activate to put something else on the field.
Not only that, it's the Eldritch Trap cards provide a bunch of interruption on your opponent's turn.
That's true.
As well as like you said, the fact that they can summon themselves as monsters and put more bodies on the field.
Yeah. So what's it called? Precisely that, and that's something that we will touch on whenever we get to the semifinals, which was Sky versus Helix, because I feel like that one was just a testament to everything you just said. That being said, the statistics here, Cat unfortunately didn't get to play because Helix interrupted him into oblivion. What's it called? Helix was averaging about 5. Actually, no, that's a miscount. That's at about 8 actions per his turn before passing. And he was averaging about 9 actions per his opponent's turn, which means that a lot of the Helix's playtime was spent during Cat's turn.
It's like you're saying he's playing Christrons over there.
Yeah, almost. It almost feels like it. It was crazy. Which is a shame, because I really wanted to see how Cat handled Dragon Maids, but it's just Helix didn't give him a chance to. So that was kind of a downer. I was looking forward to seeing Blue Eyes Dragon Maids played, particularly because Cat does love to just put big dragons on board and then just stomp over his opponent, which is very satisfying to watch, because it's kind of it's one of those classic things. Is, you could play chess while playing Yu-Gi-Oh, or you could just, put a big monster with a hammer out there and just smash his pieces to bits. And that is always just so cathartic to see. But yeah, that is the first that we'll touch on. Helix, he actually went the distance in this tournament. So next up, we got Gamma versus Blark.
The Dark Magician player versus the
War Rocks.
I was gonna say, was he playing War Rocks or was he playing his Despia? I don't remember.
He was playing War Rocks. And this is something that's a testament to Gamma. And the one thing that I have to say that I love watching Gamma duel, because you can't predict Gamma. And Gamma has extreme goblin energy, where it's just like if you think you're safe by playing it the way that's intelligent, Gamma's got news for you, because he's about to pull the rug out from underneath you, and it is hilarious to see. There are times whenever I'm dueling Gamma, and he pulls this move out of nowhere where I never knew to expect it, and it's kind of funny whenever you're dueling against a person, but you're cheering for the other guy,
Yeah.
because it's I love to see strategies that nobody pays attention to or nobody thinks will work, and then suddenly somebody makes them work, and it is hilarious, because it's that thing where you are making your opponent underestimate you, and that's gonna be a problem for them. So Warrock, for everyone watching that's not familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh, is a deck that feels like it is 10 years late. Like, this deck would have been great back in Synchro era, because it works during your battle phase, which I think the Synchro era was the last time when that was a relevant method of interacting with your opponent. That's back in the day when we still had your Sakuretsu armors and your magic cylinders and your negate attacks and things like that. And War Rocks, basically during the battle phase, are 100% invincible. If you allow them to summon more than one monster and enter the battle phase, you messed up. And a lot of decks these days, if they go first, that's something that they can deal with. They can prevent you from entering into the battle phase, or not from entering into the battle phase, but from getting enough resources on your side of the field to make your battle phase any kind of important,
Yep.
And Gamma just always, almost without any problem, manages to put enough stuff out there to just kind of just really mess with your day. And it's always hilarious how he, out of everyone, ended up with 4 or 5 monsters on field, all of them main deck monsters, all of them incredibly powerful, with effects that are just so disruptive during the battle phase, which is when he wants them, because these monsters being big and beefy in the battle phase means that they benefit a lot from your opponent not being able to activate anything, which is exactly what War Rocks do. We're in the battle phase, and during the battle phase, we're on our playing field. So you can't activate anything, you can't target any of us, and if you by some miracle happen to do something that would target us, we can protect ourselves from destruction. And it was just kind of how to put this? It's kind of it's kind of like swinging upward, it's punching up, because he's got these big bully monsters that will permit you to do nothing, and they're basically holding you at arm's length while you're flailing wildly trying to stop anything from happening. It's really incredible. That said, we did see Blark do something incredible during this turn, which is he established a pretty incredible resource loop. He had the Solemn Wishes, the Dark Magicians, the Dark Magic Circles, and things like that. And basically what that did is that during his turn, as he activated effects, he would continually draw cards, and when he did, he would increase his life points. And on top of that, basically everything on his side of the field was kind of if you remove me, I float into something else. So, despite the fact that Gamma had a bunch of monsters that could just punch over almost anything, he really did have to work for it because Blark was not making it easy. On top of giving himself extra life points, he was also bolstering his defenses with everything that Gamma destroyed, which was kind of awesome to see. Dark Magician being one of those decks that you really, what you want to do is you want to keep your Dark Magician in rotation and negate your opponent's most, not negate, but like basically banish your opponent's most important play.
Yeah.
So whenever they're putting a lot of resources into things, your deck wants to put Dark Magician on the field, and then Dark Magic Circle will activate, allowing you to banish one of your opponent's cards. So you wait for your opponent to really commit into a play, you summon Dark Magician, and then Dark Magic Circle banishes whatever it is that they just spent all this time trying to build. And Blark pretty much had the setup for it. I think that Gamma didn't allow him to capitalize on it. So, Hair-Raising Narrative says, Bard referencing monsters that are big and beefy makes me smile. The biggest, beefiest monster is Hungry Burger. That is 100% beef.
Beefiest burger.
Biggest, beefiest burger. And one that
Try one at Wendy's.
One that I really think needs an archetype based around it, you know, like maybe like a chef card that gathers all the ingredients, and depending on which ingredients you have, your ritual card can summon different types of dishes. You know, so like you got like the Hungry Burger or like the angry pasta and stuff like that. I think that would be hilarious.
Mildly upsetty spaghetti.
Ah, yes, upsetty spaghetti. I love it. Alrighty. So the stats, Gamma averaging in the neighborhood, depending on if he started, he was averaging about 4 moves per duel. If he was going second, he was averaging about 7. Blark was a lot of summoning. His averages was around 8. And if he was defending, he would generally pop off maybe about 5 different interactions whenever Gamma was trying to get through his stuff. So, interesting to look at. Now we're moving on to the second bracket, and we start with Gamma versus Helix. This was a tough one, man. This was a tough one to see because it was basically the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. Gamma in this one being the unstoppable force, summoning big, strong monsters and trying to break through Helix's board, which is hard to do on an Eldritch board because they generally don't go anywhere. Yeah.
One of those things that with Eldritch, like we said, you can try to get rid of them, but they'll just keep coming back. They're like weeds.
Yeah,
in that sense.
They're a lot like weeds. And so, just for reference here, I kind of want to put up one of Gamma's boards at the end here, and this is normally something that's going to be really difficult to deal with here, because what you got is you got like a big 3K beater that has protection effects. You got a 23K beater, and you got one that will pop something on your opponent's field whenever they're whenever something is destroyed by battle. Additionally, War Rock Mountain, which is their field spell, powers them up and prevents their destruction. So Gamma is putting up really big, really scary boards that should be difficult to interact with. But the thing about, as we've said, about Eldritch and Prank Kids is that they're kind of a grind game, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of a really difficult grind game to get over because it makes you scared to commit anything to the board because Eldritch and Prank Kids will whittle them down. 242 in the chat says, "Are y'all on bikes?" We are. We are on dual runners. And what's it called? She also says, "Have fun, guys." So I'm guessing she's not sticking around. But yeah, have a good day, 42. Thank you for stopping by, and you remember all the victories in this tournament were sponsored by 242 Reads. Gamma says that he's modified his deck with DD Crows. Okay, so and additionally, the 23k beater that he has on field is something that will get rid of spells and traps, or the 24k beater. So yeah, the one that I was mentioning initially. So it was a difficult one because Gamma was putting resources into bringing these monsters out, and Eldritch loves to see you commit into a board so that he can pick it apart. So it really was one of those duels where it's like, who will run out of resources first? Because if Gamma can keep putting big monsters out, he can eventually run over everything that Eldritch can do. However, unless he can close the game immediately after that, chances are Eldritch will recover the next turn, you know? Did we lose Dare?
You're cutting in and out for me, so I don't know if that's me or if that's you or if that's.
Oh. Okay.
So I heard, and then you just kind of went quiet.
Okay. Well, basically what I said is, this was a battle of resources. It was basically who's gonna run out of stuff. Who's gonna run out of gas first? Is it gonna be Gamma with his big monsters, or is it gonna be Eldritch with his interruptions? If Gamma runs out of gas first, then Eldritch is just gonna pick his board apart. If Eldritch runs out of resources first, Gamma has to be sure to close the game in that instant, because if he doesn't, Eldritch will recover in the next turn.
And now I'm sneezing, so that's why I didn't stop. But yeah, it was very grind gamey type.
Yeah, this, and I feel like, you know, the reason that this was, bless you by the way, I feel like the reason that this tournament went on for as long as it did is because Helix was playing a very grindy deck, and a lot of his duels took a long time to finish, because he's basically just sitting back and waiting for his opponent to do things so that he can tear him to pieces, you know? So it was kind of it was tough to watch. It's basically watching one deck is radioactive and it is slowly wearing away at the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like we said like 5 times now, Eldritch
sucks. So Gamma averaging in the neighborhood of about 10 actions per turn on this one, and Helix averaging about 4. Because he wasn't doing much. He was just sitting back and waiting for Gamma to do. And then he would, like, act on his turn instead. Helix says, blame it on me then. It's not you. It's just grindy decks. This is what they do. I've had a duel against generators that went on for 23 turns. So, I mean, like, literally any deck that is a grind game will draw this out for a long time. Sky Strikers are notorious for having duels that go up to 30 minutes. You know, it is bad because that's all they do. They wait for your opponent to act, and then they interrupt, or they steal, or they otherwise, you know, just mess with your opponent's board so that your opponent has now very difficult choices to make. It requires one player to know when the best time to counteract is, and the other player to know how much they're willing to commit to an action and potentially lose in an attempt to get forward, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
My allergies just started like really messing with me.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear it.
I'm trying to not like die on the why I like press the mic button. But yeah, the whole grind game between like War Rocks and Eldritch is it's War Rocks was one of those decks that was really hyped up when it first was announced.
Oh, for
and
sure.
Then you have the opposite of that, which was the Eldritch, which was released in a set during like peak COVID, and people just didn't buy it. So they're like, it's not that great. Now, you look at it, and Eldritch is considered one of like the decks that, if your deck can beat it, your deck's good.
Yeah, actually,
and
that.
War Rocks is. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you're very right about that. That is the benchmark of what makes your deck competitive. Like like literally competitive, like tournament competitive. Is can your deck beat Eldritch? If your deck can beat Eldritch, it is considered a really good deck.
And that's how Eldritch went, and now it's War Rocks is just kind of like, well, they're warriors, I guess.
Here's an interesting question for you. Do you think that they would have seen more play if they were actually rock type?
Yes, because when they were first announced and put into the game, I believe we still had Blocky Boy. We had Block Dragon.
Yeah, we had Block Dragon. That's right.
So if War Rocks were actually rocks, we'd have War Rocks.
I wonder if they would have like comboed really well with Emancipators or stuff like that.
Well, that's the thing too. Is like a lot of people were looking at it as, oh well, this is the next Emancipator thing. So because Emancipator came out with Eldritch and Secret Slayers, but it was the best deck that never got the chance to be the best deck.
That's very true. Because they kept banning their stuff.
Yeah.
Like ban all their combo pieces. No. Stop it at Emancipator. Bad.
But yeah, they ruined the Blocky Boy, and that made it bad. And then Emancipators was like, well, maybe War Rocks will be the next best thing for us, and they were warrior types instead of rock types.
Yeah, which was crazy.
I was thinking it was going to be like an archetype of like these giant like golems that they just punch things really hard.
Right.
But no,
there's
an archetype of
cave
small,
dudes.
not golems.
They're cavemen. But really, really interesting to see that Gamma has made it work in really fun, really interesting ways. And a lot of that is because I feel like on top of just the aggression, he's supplementing it with a lot of traps that punish your opponent for thinking that they can that they can punch over them, like so yeah, your opponent can go ahead and just kind of like pick them off one by one. You gotta be worried about that bye damage in the back, or you gotta be worried about like those magic cylinders, because Gamma just like, hey, you're gonna take damage whether you like it or not. So it's really fun. And Helix like be super salty, be like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna build Mystic Mine and this and that. It's just the guy who played Tri Brigade. Look, I'm not ragging on control players, which Helix is. He may not know it, but he is a control player. Literally, all of the decks that he has in real life are based around, establishing a board that will disrupt your opponent. Those being like Magistus, which has a fusion monster that will steal an opponent's monster at quick effect speed, which has a boss monster that will shut down the effects of extra deck monsters, and on top of that, he has the Libromancer deck, which all of their support seems to suggest that that's what they do too. So they're like their Libromancer intervention trap just negates stuff, and a lot of their new stuff is stuff that steals. So he is a very control player, and that's just what comes with the territory with control players. Is your games are generally going to be slower than others.
I really like playing Stun myself, which is slower than Control, because you're just saying, I'm going to play the game and your opponent's not going to play the game.
Uh-huh.
But, like, it gets really slow, and after a while, it gets really boring to just play in that style.
Yeah. I,
Uh,
I
be,
have Altergeists myself, and it it does feel kind of like, I'm a lot of the times you're just waiting on your opponent to do something so that you can say no. Oh no, did I cut out again?
no, it's just thinking of why Mystic Minds look so poorly upon.
Well, I wonder
Why,
why.
why does why does he hate Mystic Mind?
All right, we're moving on to the Sky versus Mordor. This one was really fun to watch. Because both Sky and Mordor in this duel, in this particular tournament, came out swinging. Mordor in his very first duel, since he skipped the last one, did a very complex combo that ends in an unoutable monster, which we've talked about. But Sky went on a turn that felt like it would never end, to end on multiple negates and a banish, which was incredibly fun. Like a massive synchro monster with 4,000 attack, a Baron de Fleur, and the other two things on her field weren't really all that great. It was just basically like a Stardust Charge Warrior, which draws you a card when he's summoned, and the other one was like Arrive in Light, which is on the field now, which is on the screen now. And she did have a set card, which I don't remember what that was, but it could have potentially been another interruption. And while we're talking about stats, in this particular one, I think Mordor bricked more often than he would have liked, because he averaged about 5 moves per turn, whereas Sky, get ready for this one, Sky had a 26 action turn. From beginning to this board right here, it took her 26 actions.
I always like to watch people play synchrons. We have someone at our locals who plays synchrons, and it's just, it feels at a point like it's cheating, because no one should be able to summon out 30 cards in one turn.
Yup.
And here we are.
And this is kind of goes a long way to say that this is why Sky is generally looked very highly upon in the server, is because she always plays decks that do that. That she's got a tendency to do these combos that feel like they go on forever, and they turn one card into 60. So.
Well, that, and she also is just like, the decks that she does know and that she does play, they're very, very, what do I want to say? They're not like super combo heavy, but in the same way they are, and she's just well versed in playing them.
That's true.
Like, playing something like Synchrons, you have to be able to think like 4 or 5 steps ahead to be like, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to have to go into this monster to get another draw, and then hopefully I'll get this draw. And
yeah, and it really was, because it felt like every time that something would be sent to the graveyard for the summon of something else, she would get 2 additional things off of an effect. So, like, for example, Doppel Warrior, or stuff like that. So it was a really, really incredible first turn, because I was like, wow, look at that. A level 11 synchro, 4,000 attack, a level 10 synchro, 3,000 attack, both of them negates. One of them can, interact twice, which was the Shooting Star Majestic Dragon. And on top of that, a set card that you don't know what it is. So basically, I always say that this is the way that to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Proficiently is you got to count the number of interactions your opponent has, and then plan your moves accordingly so that you can deal with them as they come. So, for example, with Sky's board here, I count 3, maybe 4 interruptions depending on what her face downs are. And they're really difficult interruptions to deal with because there's a negate that destroys, and there's a banish. So I have to be willing to lose one effect, or actually lose two effects, lose maybe one card to destruction, and lose one card to banishment, and that's before we even get to the face down.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know what the face down that she is, or she has is. It could be a fourth negation, like you said, or it could just be like I set a call by the grave to banish something that you go for on your turn.
Yeah.
But it's a scary combo to have that staring at you.
Yeah, it really is. It's not unbreakable by any means. You absolutely can break this board. Gamma in the chat says, "Hey, 26 moves, hit it with a Nibiru." If you hit it with a Nibiru before you can get to your first negate, 100% you can crack it. Additionally, there are board breaker cards such as, like Forbidden Droplet, that if you pitch a monster with the effect of Forbidden Droplet, you can turn off both the Shooting Star Majestic Dragon and the Baron de Fleur without them being able to react. So there are ways around this board. However, unless you draw into them, this is a nigh impossible board to get over. Try to combo through this. You will get interrupted at least 3 times. So, and I think that the benchmark for what a competitive deck needs to be able to play through is 2 interruptions, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, usually like most quote-unquote competitive decks can put up at least 2 interruptions, whether it be the negates or bounces or whatever. And then you have people like the Pin God Triff Gaming, who he can put up infinite negates, and you're just out of luck at that point.
Yeah, but this was a really fun one to look at. Gamma Prohibition. It's another thing that Gamma does in the server, that every time that he finds one of our strategies particularly grating, he will go out of his way to find literally every card that can interact with that. So it's kind of hilarious. But this was the highlight of this duel. Mordor tried, but like I said, I think that he bricked because there was really not much he could do. He couldn't get off the ground in the first game, and then in the second game, he conceded. So I think that there was just no way for him to win this one. And it's an intimidating board to look at. So I mean, now we're on to the semifinals, which was Sky versus Helix. This one, by golly, was a little bit difficult to look at because Sky kept wanting to combo and Helix kept saying no. And I think that this is like the most that we're going to touch on this, because we've covered how Eldritch is, just that type of deck that will benefit from your opponent attempting to do things so that he can interrupt them. And also, prank kids have a tendency to be very immune to interactions because of the way that they chain block each other. So, it's basically, Sky would have needed to be able to play through a few interruptions in order to establish this same level of board. But additionally, there's the element that Helix could always interact during her turn, or if he was going first, he could set up multiple interruptions. So again, we're hitting that benchmark. You need at least 2 points of interaction. You need to be able to navigate through 2 points of interaction in order for your deck to be really good. I don't think that Synchrons are bad. I think that Eldritch is a difficult matchup for most decks because of the way that he works.
The way I look at it is in the form of it, in the way of TCG. People play Eldritch. People don't typically play Synchron. So in a Master Duel setting where Eldritch has all of their cards minus like maybe what
I think
the fusion and
no, they have the
like
fusion, and Conquistador is down to 1 per the last ban list, so that's the pop.
so they have pretty much full power Eldritch aside from their Conquistador, where Synchrons. I'm pretty sure Synchrons have everything because OCG ban list.
Yeah.
But it's still just having Eldritch basically at full power being what people consider a not so much meta, but like high rogue tier deck.
Yeah, like if we were talking,
it's strong.
It's very strong. Yes.
And it's like some of the other decks that people in the tournament played, like the Cyberdark deck. It looks really good because it can summon out big monster and it can Buster Lock and everything, but it's not really a top tier meta competitive deck because, like you said, it doesn't really put up that many negates. It just makes big unaffected monster, and then you just kind of kaiju that and walk over it.
Right. And it's something to be said about the Master Duel format that because it's a best of 1, a lot of the times your deck has to be equipped to deal with as much as possible. So you have to run your removal cards like your Raigeki or your Lightning Storm, but you also have to take into consideration that sometimes you're going to run into a Cyber End Dragon, a Cyber Dark End Dragon, and you need to know how to deal with that. Or you need to have something to deal with that potentially, or you're gonna run into what do you call it? The arrival at Ignister, and unless you have the right tools to deal with that, you got nothing. You're just gonna have to deal with this 5k attack monster that you cannot remove from the field. So it's kind of a weird situation because it's almost like you're encouraged to run kaijus, but kaijus in a lot of decks are just bricks if you draw them and you don't have any of your other starters or extenders,
Yeah, and that's why the whole Master Duel being a one duel match is hard because in the TCG and OCG you have a match of 3, and in between each you have a side deck that you can move cards in and out of. So those bricks of kaijus that you don't want to play, you can put them in if you see your opponent's playing something, or you can take them out if your opponent's not playing something.
Right.
And you can act accordingly to what your opponent's playing. Whereas when you're playing a best of 1 and your opponent drops big monster unaffected by everything, you just kind of sit there and look at yourself and you're like, well, I guess I just die then, right?
Like a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people really do want the best of 3. Me personally, I perform better in a best of 1, and I don't know why that is. I think a lot of it is because now my opponent has to be prepared for literally everything.
Yeah, because in a best of 1, you have that element of surprise.
Right.
In a best of 3, after that first game, you know what your opponent's playing.
Yeah.
I know that my opponent is playing Eldritch Prank Kids, so I can just put like Royal Decree, and I can side in stuff to get rid of special,
like your Droll and Lockbirds.
Special summoning. Like, I'm basically just saying with monarchs. You put pantheism down, and you draw your monarch cards, and then you're just like, here's my monarch.
Right.
Now you're domain locked. Have fun.
Yeah. So it is it is what it is. I mean, like you can side deck in the TCG and the OCG. Me personally, I prefer the best of 1 format. But it does sometimes put me up against really obnoxious boards that I can do nothing against, because it's like, well, all right, well, how do you deal with these unoutable monsters if you didn't prepare for that? Well, in all honesty, I just take the L at that point, because you're not going to win all of them anyway. I mean, you could be the best prepared, and even with side decking, there's still that element. Well, your opponent can side deck too. Now he knows what you're playing. So, it's kind of like that. You got that going on where it's like you're all the best preparations will never, remove that RNG element where you could just
Yeah.
brick and, whatever. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? Best of one, let's go. If my opponent puts out a Cyber Dark End Dragon or a At Arrival at Ignister, I just lose, and I'm good with that. Let's move on to the next game and see if we can win that one. So Gamma pointing out that you could run the Underworld Goddess of the Closed World as an extra deck out, which is technically a kaiju. You still have to put up 4 monsters because it allows you to use one of your opponent's monsters, and I think that the rest of the requirements is like 4 different effect monsters, so it's like, wow. He also says Helix wanted that crown. Yes, Helix did want that crown, and I think a lot of it is because at this point, I'm making a show of just of being undefeated. It's just kind of like a thing that I'm just like, yeah, I'm unbeaten, and it is just grating on him, and he's just like,
Your pants are getting a little too big for yourself. I will say that.
That means that my eventual defeat will be glorious. And I guess lastly, we have the finals, which was Helix versus myself. And I mean, I wish I could tell you that it was fun, but it just, we've touched upon why Eldritch is frustrating, and literally all of my decks have bad Eldritch matchups, because Eldritch can run a lot of things that will just stop me dead in my tracks. What's it called? Eldritch plays like there can only be one, which makes your opponent be capable of only controlling one monster of each type, which means that my Dragon Link deck just stops dead there because I can only control one dragon, which doesn't let me play at all, There's also Eldritch can run Skill Drain, which would also stop my Dragon Link deck dead in its tracks. The only thing I could do at that point is attempt to out it with my Hieratic Seal, but I hope I got to the Hieratic Seal before Skill Drain was activated, otherwise,
Otherwise, you're just kind of sitting there saying, well, I have one Rocket Tracer on the field.
Yeah,
I can try to attack over the 2,500 Golden Gucci Lord.
Yep.
But, 16 is not greater than 25.
It is not. There Can Only Be One will also shut down my Sword Soul deck, because a majority of it is worms, and it's just kind of like there are ways to deal with it. Like if I have, like, for example, my Monk of the Tenyi, and I have like a Tenyi Spirit Vishuddha in the graveyard, I can bounce that There Can Only Be One. Skill Drain, I feel, in Sword Soul is almost not as bad, because what's it called? There is Sword Soul monsters, like, for example, Long Yuan, who will activate in the hand, and will create the Sword Soul token, which is a tuner, and will allow you to go into a level 10. So
yeah,
it's not as terrible. And a lot of the Tenyi monsters will activate in graveyard, so I mean, Skill Drain, it's there, and it will hinder you. It won't hinder you as bad as it would hinder Rocket Dragon Link, which Rocket Dragon Link just shuts down at the side of Skill Drain. And that's counting just like the tech options, and that's not even counting on like the general Eldritch interruptions, which is like your Hakero and your Conquistador, which can at any time show up and just ruin your day. So basically, that's kind of the reason why I chose to go with Tri-Brigade, because it's like, okay, if there can only be one, I can play around that, because Tri-Brigade runs a variety of different monster types.
Yeah, you have Winged Beasts, you have Beast Warriors, right?
Yeah,
and beasts.
Yeah, and beasts.
They're all like beasts.
Yeah,
Beast
they're
type.
all beasts, but different enough so that you can skate underneath it. uh, if I run into skill drain is a problem for Tri Brigade a little bit because their effects do activate on field. However, it is not impossible to create a link summon under skill drain. You know, and a lot of my effects will activate in the graveyard too. So, for example, if he skill drains, whenever I normal summon my Tri Brigade Kit, I can link summon into Almirage. Kit will activate in the graveyard, send a Nervball, add something else. You know, so there are things I can do. Also, it helps that Tri Brigade is such a small package that I can run a lot more hand traps. I can run a lot more removal. So I in my Tri Brigade deck, I run Harpy's Feather Duster, I run Lightning Storm, I run, Twin Twisters. So there's like so much stuff that I can do to just get rid of problems, which you can't generally do in other decks that are more combo heavy. Like, for example, in Rocket Dragon Link, I run one Lightning Storm. It's like, okay, that I better hope I run into that Lightning Storm before I put a face-up card on the field, otherwise we got problems.
You just have to play a 60-card deck at that point, right?
Yep, you just got to run a 60-card deck. So, like I was saying, I wish that this would have been a fun duel. I went into it knowing full well that at any point, if Helix decided to put his best game forward, I was going to fight to get over it. It's not unheard of that I can beat Eldritch with any of my decks. However, it is never an easy win. It is always a fight. And add prank hits to the element. Now we're trying to stop one engine before it gets too far, while all the while potentially having to face a second engine that's designed specifically to stop you from doing what you want to do. So, yeah, it was a tough one, and Helix put up a hell of a fight. He sure as hell did not want to let me win. In the end, I think that I just drew better.
Well, that's the deck that you play. They're all extremely consistent, and for the most part, I'm pretty sure all of them were or are at like a meta level of competitive play.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tri Brigade was really good for the longest time. I don't know if they're still being played a lot.
In the TCG, almost not at all.
Yeah. Well, it's because they had to get my poor little Starling like banned almost.
They got so much. Tri Brigade is like the Halki Fibrax of archetypes, man. Because like there were so many things that were banned because of Tri Brigade. So like, for example, like your Fire Formation Tanky got limited to one. And it's like, okay, all other decks that use Fire Formation Tanky, well, you can just go fuck yourself at this point, So it's back to 2 now, but like for a while there, it's like, yeah, we're trying to hit Tri Brigade, and what's it called, Zodiac Trident. Zodiac was a problem in of its own for a long time, so I mean, I almost feel like that one's not so much a Tri Brigade problem as it is a Zodiac problem, but Tri Brigade doesn't help. The Simorgh Bird of Sovereignty, Simorgh is Simorgh, like it helps out a lot of Winged Beast decks. It helps out Harpies. It helps out, the Lyrilusks also. But
any deck that plays Winged Beasts.
Any deck that plays Winged Beasts can run Simorgh, and it's awesome. But, can't have Simorgh because of Tri Brigade. Additionally, what's the other one that they got hit? There was another one that was... Oh, yeah, the Recital Starling. In the Lyrilusc deck, the Recital Starling makes you a free Utopic Draco Future. And because of Tri Brigade, nah, can't have that. So, a lot of things in Tri Brigade, like... A lot of the reason that these things got hit is because of Tri Brigade, because Tri Brigade's just too strong. But I do feel like that's Konami also dancing around like one of the main issues, which is like, you really could have just put like Tri Brigade Revolt to 1 and it would have solved a lot of these problems. Or what the OCG did, which is limit Fractal.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you limit fractal, all of a sudden, you lose a little bit of the consistency, but it still plays.
They, the, I understand why Konami does it, because new cards have the possibility to be reprinted and make money still, where old cards not as much.
Right.
At the same time, it's like the whole Prank Kids thing with the ban list, where they banned Meow Meow, and it just completely neutered the deck. When it was, you could have hit the adventure package and had the same effect, and then Prank Kids would still be playable.
But nah, son, adventure making money.
They can make money off of adventure still, so they're going to just be like, hey, sorry, Prank Kids players, you can't play your deck anymore.
Yeah. So I want to say hi to King of Canadian Hill, who just showed up, and he's leaving us a like. Thank you, King of Canadian Hill, and welcome to the stream. But yeah, I mean, I hear you. Like they don't want to hit the adventure package, even though it is a problem. Everything can run adventure, everything can make their turn 4 negate, everything, and can just run that particular package, which is a small one, because what do you run? Like maybe 3 Water Enchantress, 1 Rite of Aramesir, and like the equip spell, and what do you call it? Wandering Griffin Rider. That's it.
Yeah. It's basically the whole thing. But you gotta just nip it in the butt before they can do anything, right?
Yep. But Konami's like, hey, Rite of Aramesir and Water Enchantress are selling for like $60 a pop. So if you want to play competitive Yugi Mans, you need yourselves 3 Water Enchantress and at least a Rite of Aramesir. And so we're gonna keep those around for as long as we can. Gamma says they neutered the Meow Meow. Yes, they did. They neutered the Meow Meow.
No more kids for the Prank Kids.
No more kids for the Prank Kids. It ends there. But Helix had a very solid build, a very solid hybrid control combo build. It was nice to see the consistency of it, because literally every game, like I said, he had a bread and butter combo that he went with it. That he went with, and it worked, and it was consistent, and it was immune to interruptions almost. So I was really excited to see it. I wasn't excited to fight against it. I really hoped somebody would stop him before he got to me. But
why would we do that?
I know you guys was like, oh, what's he gonna have the least fun playing against? Eldritch. All right, everybody throw the game whenever you reach Helix.
We either need to throw the game so Sky wins, or throw the game so Helix wins. So you just have like the 2 best players in the with like the best decks, and you're just sitting there like, well, I guess.
I think we're like we were saying Sky and Helix a lot because they in the past 4 tournaments, they were the ones that reached the finals every time. However, I do feel that Gamma has a very high power ceiling. So I'm 100% convinced that if he wanted that crown like really, really badly, he could figure something out to tear me to pieces. I know it. As a matter of fact, I was playing against him last night, and he's got like this weird punk Sword Soul deck that just makes synchros, and it's really fun to look at. And it's completely different from the Sword Soul Tenyi, so I mean, like it adds that element of surprise to it. Like I said, he's got like that manner of like building decks that you will never see coming. So I really do believe that if he wanted to, he could. Cat likes to play things classic. So I think that what our tournaments would benefit from, to see some players get more representation than others, is different formats. Like for example, if we did if we did a Go format, if we did a Go format or stuff like that, I think Cat would be freaking unstoppable. Not to say that he's not good in the modern Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just he has a preference for the classics. And same thing with Blark. Blark playing a very themed archetype, and which is there's Dark Magician. Like I said, arguably gets more consistent support than Blue Eyes. I feel like Blue Eyes cards can sometimes be a little out there. Like, yeah, this card does stuff for Blue Eyes, but it doesn't jive with the rest of their engine. So I do think that Blark's deck in a different type of format could see a lot of success. But yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to say here, is that I believe 100% that literally everyone has the capacity to take me down if they wanted to. I mean, I don't.
Except for you, dear, because you suck.
What are you talking about? DDD was terrifying. At first, whenever this tournament started, it's like I was like, I don't want to face DDD because I don't know how to deal with it. And then when I saw Eldritch, I was like, oh, that's another one I don't want to deal with.
And then I bricked really hard.
Yeah. So it was a fun tournament. Like I said, I mean, this was definitely a what's it called? A stream to just kind of sing the praises of everybody who what's it called? Who dueled against us, because they do have incredible skill, and they just keep getting better and better. And I thought that this was a fun tournament, and this was the longest tournament, and a lot of that I feel is because of the grind games that we faced in there. And we saw a great representation of a lot of different strategies. We had combo strategies, we had mid-range, we had grind game. It was interesting to see.
Indeed, it was.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully the next tournament we'll see some more really cool, unique stuff.
Yeah.
That will also just finally defeat you and get you off that pedestal.
Oh, yep. And I look forward to it. Like I said, I've been at the top for so long now that my defeat will be glorious. That said, what was I going to say is we did implement the new rules, and a lot of it was to kind of add a little bit of a side decking strategy into it. But additionally, I feel like this could provide an even wider variety of the decks that we see being played, which is the 2-deck rule, which everybody can bring 2 decks, kind of like the way that you can bring multiple Pokemon into a Pokemon battle. If your first game doesn't go as well as you hoped, you can swap into your different deck and just kind of play that way. Yeah. A couple of different caveats I think that we should probably put on that, but that's for discussion for a later day. And Gamma says, I feel like once all the praise is done, smack talking will be played. The smack talking doesn't begin until around the 15th of the month, so you got about 10 days of me being nice left.
Wait, you're nice to us?
I'm very nice to you guys.
It's news to me.
Like, literally everyone doesn't believe that. Like, I'm like, they are lying to you. I am a nice person.
I mean, I have the chat logs. I can bring those up.
If you bring up the chat logs, it'll just be like me being polite. It's like, hey, it's a pleasure to duel against you guys. I'm so happy to...
So it's just like, you guys smell bad and I hate you all.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of doctored, screen caps showing up now where Bard's just all like, I am the best, everyone else sucks.
You heard it here. He said, I am the best, everyone else sucks.
Everybody clipping it, like, let's take that completely out of context.
We'll get him.
And Helix saying, my next deck will make all of y'all cry. Helix at this point is just like, you know what? I'm digging in my heels. Control all the way, baby. So, and honestly, you know what? Let's see it. Let's go. But that is all that we had planned for today. I want to thank everyone who showed up in the chat, which we had Patience G, who reminded me that the music was too loud. Hair Racing Narratives, who also reminded me that the music was too loud.
King of the Canadian Hill, who hasn't yet reminded me that the music is too loud, but I'm sure he'll get there.
Yes, he will let me know also that the music is too loud. We had Brother Gamma, we had Helix, we had 242 showed up for a little bit, and As the Raven Dreams was here also. Thank you guys for stopping by. This was just, just to say thank you to everyone for tuning in, for watching our crazy card games, and thank you to everyone who's participating. Because without you guys, there would be no tournament. There would be no amount of this fun. There would be no undefeated Midnight Bard. So, just thank you guys. But like I said, that is all we had for today. I have been the Midnight Bard. This has been DD Delicious Dareinger.
Ooh, delicious now.
Delicious. And we are signing out. And once you join the collective, you can leave Nevermore.
Goodbye.
Bye.